I would like to humbly shift the attention to something I think is a huge factor in closing this racial gap that we have. I would like to put the attention on wealth, and if I say anything wrong, it's fine, I get it. More specifically, real estate, because the median net worth of an African American family is around $17,000, whereas for white families, it's around $170,000, 10 times as much. 2/3 of that wealth it's real estate, right? And if we know one thing about wealth, is that wealth creates more wealth. The wealth gap that we have between the billionaires and the rest of us is just getting wider and wider and wider. It seems like Bill Gates donates billions of dollars a year and he seems to only be getting wealthier. Why? It's because wealth creates more wealth. Hands down, that's the easiest way to get richer. But how do you create wealth if you don't have it? The number one way, and we all know this, is real estate. Because we are getting $250 million. You might have heard a lot of families saying like, oh, my parents or my grandparents bought this house for $20,000. Now they sold it for $700,000. Who gets that money? Usually the next generation does, right? Or if they don't sell it, you have these kids living here for rent-free or for very cheap while they're able to take business risks. They're able to save up and pay off their debt quicker. They're able to maintain good credit scores. They're able to create a retirement fund, right? These advantages conferred upon you, multiplied over decades, centuries. That's how wealth is built. And I would like to, again, focus the attention on that. At the end of the day, nobody wakes up and wants to make counterfeit money. Not for $20 at least. People don't want to go out and commit crimes. And if we can kind of nip it in the bud so that just doesn't have to happen in the first place, here's 3 reasons why real estate needs to be looked at as one of the solutions to close this racial gap we have. Number 1 is to acknowledge the history of how wealth has been built. The folks that founded this country, at least America, they came here and they had a 250 to 400-year head start when it came to building wealth. While white people owned land and they were building wealth, African Americans, well, in the terms of the plantations, they were the wealth. They were the property that was owned. And then through all that time, while wealth was getting passed down from generation to generation to generation, it would have been impossible for many African Americans to own property, to start building wealth. In fact, until recently, it was okay to not let certain races into a neighborhood. It was completely fine and talked about. Number 2 is redlining. So this is what I was kind of talking about earlier. Up until 60 years ago, 50 years ago, it was completely okay for a real estate agent to not want to bring minorities into a neighborhood because it would destroy their property values, people would want to move out, and supposedly they had a higher chance of defaulting. Nowadays, the rules are very strict. You can't advertise listings for certain types of age, demographics, people, or behaviors. In fact, most real estate descriptions can only be about the objective features of the house. Redlining still exists in a way that is covert racism. There are certain neighborhoods here and there that are for certain types of personalities, right? And so me as a real estate agent, what I should do is really try to give everybody a fair shot of moving into a neighborhood. And when I write listing descriptions, I shouldn't use terminology that pertains to certain demographics or age groups. You need to make sure that every piece of property can be marketed correctly to every single type of person. And that starts with us as real estate agents. Stop talking about Pacoima as a certain neighborhood or Granada Hills in another way. Everybody deserves a fair shot. So while redlining is gone, it still exists in certain ways. It is up to us as real estate agents to do our best to squash it. And then number 3, of course, in how real estate related to this racial gap that we have, moving in is that the way that real estate creates so many opportunities for you. If you know, Granada Hills Charter High School is one of the best schools in the San Fernando Valley. Everybody would love to send their children there. You can get that level of education, but maybe you have to send them to a private school, which for $300 or $400 a month, that's kind of expensive. Now, if you know anything about Granada Hills Charter High School, you have to live in certain zones. Once you live in these zones, the prices shoot up dramatically and the demographic changes considerably. So, in effect, the folks that already have wealth and that already live in these nice, expensive neighborhoods with great schools, their children get to go to schools with better educators, with usually more well-behaved students, and in general, in a better community to grow up, and it's closer to maybe more jobs, there's a lower crime rate, a better selection of healthy food. If you guys know, there's a correlation between number of fast food restaurants and lower income areas, right? They wouldn't build a Whole Foods in Porter Ranch and new development over there for nothing. It's a very expensive area. Homes in these areas, they go up higher in price, they retain their value better when it comes to recessions, right? They sell for quicker. Or if anything, you just hold on to them in the family and have your children go there, and your children's children stay in this area and in these great neighborhoods where you can walk your dogs and you don't have to worry about somebody breaking in. So in summary, those are the three things I would like us to look at. For me, in my industry, this is my 2 cents to contribute to the civil rights movement. I just want everybody to pay a little more attention because we are getting $250 million, and I agree that a lot of it needs to go into making our education more robust. But in another aspect, we do need to look at a way to have more opportunities to build wealth for those that really need it. Because wealth is a contributing factor for better education, for safer growth, for better, just for everything, to pass on wealth from generation to generation. And in my next video, I will be talking about some solutions I think through real estate that we can create a more even playing field for everybody.